You're now listening to the Built to Last podcast, a show for human performance professionals from a biblical worldview. This is performance coaching with eternal purpose.
Welcome back to another episode of the Built to Last podcast. I'm your host, Justin Ventavania, and once again, I am joined with Coach Jerry Palmieri as we continue in our series together. Coach, if you don't know much about him, he has been in the NFL with the New York Giants, the New Orleans Saints, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he spent a lot of time working in Division I college athletics as well. He's got a ton of experience in the field, guys, and what an awesome opportunity we have to listen to his wisdom that he's gained from so many years on the floor, working with athletes under the bar. And so really excited to keep going in our series here and excited to turn it over to you, Coach. Take it away.
One thing I learned probably more so later in my life and more recently years is never underestimate the awesome impact that a coach will have on his or her athletes. The great evangelist Billy Graham once said, one coach will impact more people in 1 year than the average person does in a lifetime. Players admire them, they look up to them, and hold them in high regard. One of the most powerful phrases in the English language is, coach says. Coach says. Players will hear what the coach says and be impacted by what is said. One way or another, be it positive or negative, the coach will influence his or her players. As a high school and college coach, I knew this statement to be true. High school kids are at an impressionable stage of their lives, while the college coach becomes a father figure to his athletes as they are away from home. In the NFL, dealing with grown men, you never truly know how much of an impact you can have on your athletes. At the end of the 2015 season, when Coach Coughlin was released from the Giants, they reassigned me from the as a team strength coach to position and football operations. As some of my athletes learned of this reassignment, they began sending me texts. One player said, Jerry, you had a heck of an impact on me. A 13-year veteran wrote, I appreciate you and your leadership very much. You always had us strong and prepared, said one of our leaders on the offensive line. A player I had the privilege to coach as a rookie in Jacksonville and later on as a veteran with the Giants told me, Jerry, when I met you in Jacksonville, I knew there was something different about you, but it wasn't until much later in life that I understood what it was. A young man I invested a great deal into back at Kansas State called and said, Coach, the ideals you taught me 25 years ago, I use today as I lead my business team. And finally, a retired player who grew up without a father figure in his life called me and said, I had an amazing night last night, Jerry. I spoke at a fundraiser for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I got to share my testimony how coaches like you have shaped me as a man. Now I get to raise my kids in a godly way. I love you. Administrators, when you hire coaches, don't only evaluate their ability to coach their sport, but also determine the desired impact the young men and women they will be coaching. Is winning all that matters? Or are they looking to develop boys and girls into young men and women? Coaches have a bigger job than just winning games. They are investing in the next generation. Coaches, are you fulfilling the challenge to not only transform your team members athletically, but also transform them into godly men or women? You want to know how well you are impacting your players? See where they are 20 years from now.
Coach, you've put in many years in the profession, and now that you've retired from strength and conditioning, and now with your work with FCA, I don't think it's a coincidence that you want to continue to work now in ministry and make an impact through athletics, still just with FCA, just a different avenue. For you, how do you want to be remembered as a strength coach?
Well, I obviously want to be remembered as someone who did my job well and and was able to help transform people physically. My players would be strong, but more importantly, I want people to know that I cared for them, that I loved them, and that I had a significant impact on their lives. As I send out my devotions, I do a devotional on Monday through Friday, and I have some of my players on that list. And some of the times they'll respond back to me, and you can just tell how much they appreciate getting that devotion and how it's speaking to them. And that's important to me because guys sometimes just out of the blue will text me and say, "Joe, you really cared for us. You cared about who we were as men," and that's important to me because let's face it, our physical performance it's short lived, but who we are as a man, who we are as a woman, that's lifelong, and you impact a young person's life as a man or woman. It affects everybody they come in contact for years to come. So, yeah, I would like to be remembered as somebody who really impacts the lives of others, not only physically, but also intangibly.
I tell you guys, when I first got into the profession as a strength and conditioning coach, I was looking for mentors and people that I can follow and learn from. And these episodes have really blessed me, and I'm sure they're blessing you as well. Feel free to share them with your interns, with other coaches on your staff, people who have made an impact on your life. Maybe something coach said resonated with you, reminded you of a mentor. I mean, I recommend guys sharing these as much as possible because the things that Coach Palmieri is sharing, it's more precious than gold. This wisdom is so huge. And so please, guys, feel free to reach out to Coach, share the messages, get on the text chain with the Bible, with the daily devotionals. There's just such great content coming from Coach, and looking forward to getting as many people as possible. Thanks again, Coach.